CNN has decided to file a lawsuit against Donald Trump and other defendants in relation to the revocation of Jim Acosta's White House press credentials. Now, his press credentials were revoked after he asked Trump a simple question a day after the midterm elections regarding the migrant caravan that is attempting to make its way to the US-Mexico border. Take a look.
President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I
was
going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President.
That's enough.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Of course. Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Later that night, Jim Acosta's press credentials were taken away, and CNN felt that there was no other avenue to combat this other than a lawsuit. So the suit alleges that Acosta and CNN's First and Fifth Amendment rights are being violated by this ban. But something to just keep in mind, it was docketed, meaning the lawsuit was, and assigned to Judge Timothy J. Kelly, who is a Trump appointee. We'll see what happens. And there are 6 defendants listed in this suit. Trump, Chief of Staff John Kelly, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who had shared a doctored video of this whole kerfuffle to make it seem as though the situation was much worse than it was. Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications, Bill Shine. We have the Secret Service Director and the Secret Service officer who took Acosta's hard pass away last Wednesday. And they have listed past precedents regarding the White House and the press in their suit, which I'll get to in just a second, but Cenk, jump in.
So I'm a little conflicted about this. So it's important for people to stand up for freedom of the press. So I'm glad that CNN is doing that in that sense. From a political optics point, and CNN is not in the politics business. I mean, they cover the news, but they're not on one side or another. And if you think they're liberal and on the side of progressives, that's hilarious. Okay, conservatively, economically they're incredibly conservative. But as a matter of optics, it makes it seem like the press is in a battle with Donald Trump, and
we are in a battle with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I hear you.
We are, but the battle was started by Donald Trump, who repeatedly refers to the press as enemy of the people for simply doing their jobs. For the first time in decades, the press is actually doing a decent job covering people in positions of power. A decent job. I mean, for the first time ever, I mean, I'm reading the New York Times, reading the Washington Post. They were asleep at the wheel during the Obama administration.
And the Bush administration.
And the Bush administration. We're finally seeing muckraking journalism, which I haven't seen in forever. No, we are. I mean, there's stories, Cenk, that unfortunately because of time restrictions, we haven't even been able to get to. But one of the stories that the New York Times did an excellent job on recently was how the Trump administration is basically letting these big banks that caused the economic meltdown in 2008 off with very, very low fines.
Yeah.
So there is good journalism going on, stuff that we wouldn't know about if we had, the crappy reporting from, the past decade.
Yeah. So look, back to CNN. The problem here is that. And I get it. Look, I don't want to appease the crying of the right wing, and they'll cry about this, and they are in the middle of crying, saying, "Oh, you see that? Oh, the president's like Donald Trump." So I'm not in that business, but there's also a little bit of hypocrisy here. So the Obama White House denied us a press credential. There's about 150 press organizations in the White House press corps. And you find out in this story, apparently the only reason to ever deny anybody press credentials is if you think that they're a physical danger to the president. So is Jim Acosta a physical danger to the president? Of course not. That's preposterous, right? But we weren't a physical danger to Obama either. And we were probably larger than about 130 out of the 150 press organizations there. And they cry about that. They're like, oh yeah, I don't know, but it's online, I can't tell. Whatever, so like they deny outlets all the time. And so, but now this is a big name reporter, so
So
it becomes
Cenk?
a different situation.
No, I get it, but we were stupid for not fighting. Like, let's keep it real.
So should we have sued Obama? Maybe we should have sued Obama.
Yeah, we should have. We absolutely. I didn't know. I had no idea that we had applied for those press credentials. And had I known what type of rights we had, then yeah, we should have fought, and we were dumb for not doing that. But this isn't about us. This is about the First Amendment. This is about the press overall. I love the fact that they're suing because I do believe that their constitutional rights were violated. And if you look in the past at previous rulings that were very similar to cases like this one, judges have ruled that, the press has a right to be there, that they can't just simply be banned because the president doesn't like them or like their reporting.
So now I think Acosta has a better case than CNN because the part of the defense of the White House is, well, look, there's 50 other CNN reporters who have press passes who can come to the White House. But then you get to pick and choose the reporters that you like, and you create a hostile environment and one that is purposely intimidating and could ruin a specific journalist's career. I understand all of that. But if I was CNN, the next person I would send would ask much harder questions than Acosta. So you didn't like Acosta, we're gonna send someone even tougher. And you ban that guy, we'll send someone even tougher, okay? So, but for Acosta, it's super real, and I get it. And so if I'm in his situation, and you say you banned me because you didn't like the questions I was asking, well, that deprives me of my freedom of speech, freedom of press, under illegitimate circumstances. So if you're gonna do it right, first of all, the standard for the Secret Service is that whether they're a danger to the president. Obviously, Acosta's not. Second of all, you're supposed to send written notice to the media organization. You're supposed to go through a legal process. And do you think Trump went through that? Of course not, because he hates the rule of law. He can't stand it. He's a wannabe dictator, doesn't care. So he didn't do any of the things right legally. So then CNN and Acosta have all the right in the world to say you didn't follow the law at all. So don't get me wrong, I think Acosta has an excellent case. Now, and one more thing to buttress that they said for a while, with the doctored video that they had that was sped up to make it seem like Acosta was chopping at the intern's arm, and as you just saw in the video there, he did not do that. They said it was because he had touched a woman or assaulted her or whatever, right? Here's the problem with that. As usual, Donald Trump ruined that defense because he's too stupid to keep track of his own lies. So on Friday, he said that Acosta was, quote, not nice to that young woman. But then he said, quote, I don't hold him for that because it wasn't overly, horrible. Oops, there goes your one defense.
Awesome, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, his own mouth gets himself in trouble all the time, so great. Look, this is not about CNN, it's not about TYT, it's not about the liberal press or conservative press. I would feel just as passionate about this if there was a conservative member of the media who had been retaliated against simply for asking the president a question that he didn't like. This is unacceptable. We can't allow something like this to stand. And if a lawsuit is the only way to stand up to Trump in this case, then it's the right thing to do because we need journalism, we need people to have access to people in positions of power so they can give us the information we need. And yes, in the future, we should fight. We should fight because we deserve to be there just as much as CNN does, just as much as the New York Times does, or any other news organization. I mean, they have people there from the Daily Caller. If you have people there from the Daily Caller, I mean, come on. So
that's Tucker Carlson's website that publishes lies on a very, very regular basis. And they do it for propaganda purposes. So now one more piece of hypocrisy from Donald Trump. During his campaign, if you remember, he kicked out a lot of people from his rallies, the Washington Post, BuzzFeed, Politico, Univision, etc. At the time, he said, no, he's not gonna do it when he's in office. Quote, when I'm representing the United States, I wouldn't do that, but I would let people know if somebody's untruthful.
In fact, we have video evidence of that. This is a video from June of 2016.
If you are elected, will you try to revoke the press credentials of media outlets at the White House?
No, it's a different thing. In my case, I'm a person running for office. I rent these large arenas, I rent them, and so I have an option. When I'm representing the United States, I wouldn't do that. But I would let people know if somebody's untruthful.
And here's one more quote from Trump during the campaign. Whoever chooses the people that get the press credentials, I wouldn't even tamper with that, frankly.
Please.
Okay, so not true as usual. He hates the idea of the First Amendment and the idea that there would be a free press who would challenge government officials. He believes in big government ruling over you. He believes in authoritarian form of government. And so, no, he was lying the entire time when he was, and you knew from his campaign, when he banned the press, he would ban the press when he's in the White House, and he has, and he's banned Acosta. So look, it's a minor, it's not even a dispute. I'm just unsure if this is the right strategy, as opposed to the strategy of sending tougher and tougher reporters with tougher and tougher questions in. But you could, by the way, you could do both.
Yeah, I would argue that would be the best way to do it. You know, keep sending, real journalists who are gonna ask some tough questions and don't back down. That's the thing that I'm afraid of, actually, that there was gonna be no action taken following this.
Yeah, so you know what? Let me give credit to a guy I almost never give credit to. That's Jeff Zucker. So look, there's good reason for not giving him credit. He's unfortunately the guy who's partly responsible for bringing us Donald Trump in the first place. Not only because he hired him in The Apprentice, he couldn't have known that he was gonna run for president, but he gave him billions of dollars in free media coverage and denied it to progressives and other candidates during the campaign. But in this case, he is standing strong for freedom of the press and for Jim Acosta, and he is not getting bullied. And so for that, credit where credit is due to Jeff Zucker, who runs CNN. And I'll tell you what, one super last thing. We had Sam Donaldson on the show a long time ago, and he was the White House correspondent for ABC for a long, long time, both under Reagan and Clinton. He told us a great story about whenever the Reagan White House or the Clinton White House complained about the questions he was asking, Roone Arledge, his boss, would give him a raise. So to Jeff Zucker, you should send two signals. One is this lawsuit, if you think that's the right thing to do, and obviously you do because you filed it. But two is you should give Jim Acosta a raise. And you should make it very, very public so that it sends a message to all other reporters. We will not be intimidated. If you do your job and you're a watchdog journalist and you challenge the government, you will be rewarded, not punished. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.